Okay, Ari, I know you have been dying to talk about what happened. I think it was 27 minutes. Is that right?
Sounds about right.
After the debate, which is the endorsement by a certain superstar I just talked about. I am a Swiftie. I had to play your role because you weren't on the set earlier yet, but you do it better. So tell us a little bit about what this means. And culturally, I mean, endorsements don't always matter, but this one feels like it does.
Taylor Swift has a huge following, and it overlaps with a big part of the coalition that the Harris campaign would like to win. Taylor Swift's endorsement is so sought after and coveted, and we have up on the screen her statement there, that Donald Trump was lying about it and pretending he got it. And we'll start there. She said that. She called out Donald Trump with the endorsement. She has a lot of power. She can say this the way she wants. She picked a big night to do it and said Trump was basically lying about this with these AI images that he was posting, pretending he got it. He didn't. And she says, quote, "The simplest way to combat misinformation is with the truth." And so, as Taylor would say, are you ready for it? I think Donald Trump might be down bad crying at the gym now. And she signed this memorably childless cat lady, which is another strong, feminist, and culturally cool flip of J.D. Vance's infamous sexist comment. And I am reminded of other Taylor lyrics in the cat realm.
Keep it going.
Well, karma is a cat, you know?
Yeah.
Purring in my lap, flexing like a damn acrobat.
I knew you were going to go there.
Me and karma vibe like that. And is this karma for one of the many people, we've seen this throughout her career and her life, one of the many people who underestimated her or antagonized her or tried to narrow her? She's also said, "You caged me, then called me crazy. Who's afraid of little old me? You should be." And I think this is lyrics and truth, but also something that are hundreds of millions of global followers and many tens of millions of people in the United States, a diverse following, but one that does lean young, but with parents involved, as Nicole Wallace mentioned. This is exactly the kind of enthusiasm that you cannot buy or trade. It has to be somewhat organic. This is her decision. It speaks on behalf of the feminist and other issues that are at stake. She talked about that in the statement. She has many people who will be not necessarily brainwashed by this, as the right might try to complain, but who will be giving the Harris-Walz ticket another look tonight and tomorrow. And I can tell you something else. There are a lot of people who will hear about and watch parts of the debate. There are young people who may not have watched the debate and may not have decided if they're voting, and they're waking up to these posts and they're talking about it with each other, and they should do their own research. She said that. It was a very sophisticated and thoughtful message. It wasn't, you have to do this. But she's also posted tonight links to where to register to vote. If there are tight margins in some of these states, especially in the blue wall, and we see a larger youth or female turnout, this could be part of the story that also started tonight. So we may be at an inflection point.
It's a really interesting, I mean, remember back when she endorsed Joe Biden, there was a big increase in voter registration. You could see the numbers increase just from that moment. I thought her statement was very thoughtful as well. I'm just going to pick up the baton of the Taylor Swift lyrics, since earlier I referenced these since they were playing at the rally that Vice President Harris was at, which was, "I'm so tired of running as fast as I can. Would I get there faster if I were a man?" Which was the perfect lyric, because one of the things that struck me about this debate was that she flipped the gender dynamic. She flipped the power dynamic, I guess I should say.